Germany just announced 6 major policy changes that will affect millions of people across the country. Welcome to Newsworm. In this video, we bring you the breakdown, what these changes are, who they impact, and what it means for your wallet. Let's start with renters. Landlords have been getting around rent control laws for years with two main tricks: charging massive furniture fees and pushing people into short-term contracts. The government's putting a stop to that. Here's how it works. Furniture fees can't be more than 10% of your base rent, and landlords have to list them separately on the contract. If they don't do that, the apartment automatically gets treated as unfurnished. Even if they try to add the charge later, it will still count as unfurnished for 2 years. Short-term leases are getting restricted too. You can only get one if you actually have a legitimate temporary need, and they are capped at 8 months maximum. Landlords can't just use them anymore to dodge rent caps. If your rent is tied to inflation and inflation goes above 3%, you only have to pay half of that increase. And if you're facing eviction because you couldn't pay rent, you now get one opportunity to pay everything back and keep your place. It's one chance, but it could prevent someone from losing their home. Landlord associations are furious about this. They are calling it an attack on property rights. Tenant groups say they are just closing loopholes that were being exploited for years. Moving to airports, Germany has been embarrassingly behind other major hubs on this, but digital check-in is finally coming this summer. The way it will work is you check in online, register your biometric data if you want to, and then facial recognition takes care of everything at the airport. Baggage drop, security, boarding. You don't have to keep pulling out your passport at every checkpoint. The government says this will save over 1 million hours of waiting time every year and cut cost by 63 million euros. And it's completely voluntary, so if you don't want to use it, the traditional paper process is still there. The airline industry is thrilled about this. They have been pushing for it for years, saying Germany was falling behind other international and European hubs. On to pensions. Retirees will get 4.24% increase starting in July. If you have a standard pension, you get an extra 77.85 euros every month. It's tied to wage growth, which came in higher than expected. Now we get to the big one, health insurance reform. The system has a 15.3 billion euro deficit that needs to be closed. The reform is supposed to save 16.3 billion euros, but patients, doctors, and high earners are all going to feel it. Let me walk you through some of the changes. When you pick up medication at the pharmacy, you are going to pay 50% more in co-payments. Right now it's 5 to 10 euros, that's jumping to 7.5 to 15 euros. If your spouse or partner is currently covered by your insurance for free, that ends in 2027. You will have to pay 2.5% of your taxable income to cover them. There are exemptions if you have children under 7, if you are providing family care, or if you are retired. But for everyone else, that's a new cost. Higher earners are also getting hit. The income cap for contribution is going up by 300 euros a month from 5,812 euros to 6,112 euros. So if you earn above 5,812 euros, you are now paying contributions on an additional 300 euros of income. The one piece of good news is that sick pay is staying at full value. But here's where it gets controversial. Doctors, hospitals, and pharmaceutical companies can now only get pay increases that match how fast insurance revenue is growing. Medical associations are warning this could hurt the quality of patient care. And there's a big funding fight happening. Health insurers are currently covering the cost of insuring people on biometric, which creates a 12 billion euro burden every year. A lot of people think the federal government should pay for that instead. But the government is only adding 250 million euros while actually cutting the health fund by 2 billion euros. Insurance companies are warning that premiums could go up starting in 2029 because of this. Next, the federal budget for 2027. Total spending is hitting 543.3 billion euros with 110.8 billion in new borrowing. And most of the money is going to one place, defense. Defense spending is jumping to 105.8 billion euros. That is 3.1% of GDP next year and it is projected to reach 3.7% by 2030. The government says it is necessary because of the security threat from Russia. But even with all this borrowing, there is still a 29 billion euro funding gap for 2028. And that could grow to 60 billion euros in the years after that. The left party is calling this excessive military spending while everything else is getting cut. Business groups are worried that all this borrowing is going to lead to tax increases down the road. And finally, the student aid. The housing allowance in the Federal Training Assistant Act is going up from 380 euros to 440 euros a month starting in winter semester 2026. Basic student allowance are also being raised to match social security levels over the next 2 academic years. Income thresholds will automatically adjust going forward, and the whole system is getting digitized with less paperwork. Student organizations are happy about this, and they are also saying it should have happened months ago. So those are the 6 major changes. All of this still need to go through Parliament to become law. We will be tracking how these move through the legislative process and what actually gets passed. The debates are just beginning.